Luna 7 Archon Quest is already a quest people praise for its story, its lore, and its character moments. However, what I find most impressive is how the cinematography supports all of them. Through framing, distance, and composition, the quest constantly shows us what kind of power its character holds. The first character that made me notice this was Nahida. Despite being the Dendro Archon, she's rarely framed as the most dominant person in the room. This is shown off perfectly in the scene, where the camera pans from Nahida to other characters, in a sense, to show Lumine and Paimon walk into the room. It also helps to reveal Nahida's position, where almost everyone is on the upper floor, except her, Wanderer, and some scholars, who stay at the lower level. If you notice, the sanctuary of Surastana sits above the rest of Sumeru city, but Nahida's throne, if you can call it that, is placed lower at the center of the room. The entrance to the Irminsul is directly beneath it, so on a practical level, her position places her closer to the source of her power. Symbolically, that placement feels fitting for Nahida. She's placed closer to the tree that contains the souls of all the people of Teyvat, more connected to the people she's protecting. In the next shot, when Lumine speaks with characters on the upper floor, Nahida often remains visible in the background below, still meditating. This composition serves two purposes at once. First, it quietly keeps Nahida at the center of the scene. Even when other characters are speaking, the camera keeps returning our attention to her, reminding us that the crisis and many of the discussions surrounding it ultimately revolve around her. At the same time, by keeping her in the background and close to the same visual level as Lumine and the other characters, the scene avoids turning her into a distant authority figure. But this non-dominant framing isn't unique to this scene. Throughout the quest, we see Nahida standing at the same level as everyone else, framed as part of the group, turning toward whoever is speaking and sharing the frame. When she's technically standing above most of the group on a staircase, she never feels particularly imposing. Part of that may be because the Grand Sage and Cyrus are positioned higher behind her. But it's also because the scene focuses on the discussion itself. The camera spends more time following the conversation and the group's reaction than emphasizing Nahida's elevated position. The quest is also remarkably comfortable, letting her be visually overshadowed. Of course, Nahida is small, both physically and within Teyvat's greater power structure. The camera never really tries to hide it. Apep towers over her. The three shades occupy a higher place in the world's hierarchy. Even when standing beside other gods, Nahida rarely dominates the frame. And yet your eyes are still drawn to her. She's important. She's central, yet she's still part of the group. The same visual language also applied to the three gods. Despite being ancient divine beings, they're almost never framed as towering above everyone else. When they're released from their prison, the game could have introduced them standing on a ledge or on the stairs. Instead, they are immediately placed on the same level as the rest of the cast. For most of the quests, they don't command, they advise, guide, and discuss. The only major exception is the chess puzzle scene, where they're finally positioned above Al-Haytham and Cafe. But even here, the purpose isn't intimidation, they're teaching. Just like Nahida, their power comes through guidance rather than domination. Not every powerful character is framed this way though. The Grand Sage provides an interesting contrast. During the staircase discussion, not only is he positioned above the rest of the group, but he's even above Nahida herself. And unlike Nahida's scenes, the camera emphasizes that difference. We see shots of the cast looking upward toward him as he speaks. The effect is authoritative. The camera treats him less like a participant in the discussion and more like someone directing it. But even then, the Grand Sage is still working alongside the group. Pantalone is different. Although we briefly see him earlier in the desert, his visual language becomes much clearer during his confrontation with Lumine. From the moment this scene begins, the camera introduces him from above. A wide overhead shot descends toward the upper platform where he's already standing, immediately separating him from everyone below. The next shots keep repeatedly reinforcing this relationship. We look up at him, he looks down at us. Even before he speaks, the scene has already taught us who holds the higher position. One shot especially stood out to me. Lumine and Paimon occupy the foreground while Pantalone remains on the upper floor between them. At the same time, the architecture behind him creates another frame around him, with Pantalone standing directly beneath its highest point. This is a frame within a frame composition, a technique often used to isolate a character and draw attention toward them. And that's exactly what happens here. The camera wants us to feel the distance. Unlike Nahida, whose power comes from her connection to others, Pantalone's power comes from being above them. The idea that power is expressed through hierarchy doesn't work at all with Dottore. The camera even rarely cares whether he's standing above someone else. Instead, it keeps focusing on something much larger: distortion. From his very first appearance inside the corrupted Irminsul, the scene feels unstable. The environment glitches. The camera repeatedly circles around him. Hard cuts interrupt the flow of the scene. Even the colors gradually shift from the Irminsul's dominant blue toward darker reds as the camera moves closer and closer to him. As the quest continues, the visual language only becomes more aggressive. Glitches constantly surround him. The corrupted Irminsul breaks apart around him. The camera tilts into Dutch angles. At one point, the world itself turns upside down. What's interesting is that these techniques aren't being used to make Dottore look powerful in the traditional sense. They are being used to make reality itself feel unreliable. Compare that to the characters we've already discussed. Nahida's power comes through connection, the three gods through guidance, the Grand Sage through authority, Pantalone through status. Dottore's power comes through destabilization. He doesn't simply occupy a higher position inside the world. He's actively damaging the system everyone else exists within. And the cinematography keeps reminding us that. Even after Nahida enters the battle, the camera remains tilted. Even during Dottore's last scene beside the burning Irminsul, Dutch angles continue appearing throughout the sequence. The distortion lingers because the damage lingers. Everyone else in this quest is framed as someone using power within the world. Dottore is framed as someone breaking the world apart. Honestly, I think there's enough material in these scenes alone for an entire Dottore cinematography breakdown. But for this video, what's important is how completely different his visual language is from everyone else. What makes Luna 7 Archon Quest cinematography interesting isn't that it tells us who is important. The story already tells us that. What the camera adds is nuance. It shows us the difference between connection, guidance, authority, status, and corruption. And because of that, the quest's power dynamics are often visible long before anyone says them out loud. Before I finish though, there's one more detail I appreciated. Beyond the character framing, this quest also experiments with its editing. It repeatedly uses split-screen composition, sometimes divided diagonally rather than vertically. Instead of simply cutting between characters, one side expands while the other collapses, smoothly transferring our attention across the cast. It's a small technique, but it helps the quest handle its unusually large ensemble without making the conversation feel static. Even the chapter cards participate in this visual language. Early on, glitches indicate the start of Irminsul corruption. Later, the transition shifts into burning effects instead, mirroring the fate of the corrupted tree. Even the title cards themselves evolve alongside the crisis. All of these are small details, but they help make the entire quest feel visually cohesive. Anyway, those were some of my favorite cinematography moments from Luna 7 Archon Quest. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. This has been Anora.